This is me, Eddie Morra, and right now, I'm at the end. They say a man can change his life. They lie. I'm smart. That's my problem. I know exactly how close I am to a complete, spectacular failure. And failure? It smells like stale pizza and desperation. I have guys trying to kill me because 5 days ago, I was broke. I was a nobody. Today, I have something they want. Something that could change the world. The clock is ticking. But you're probably wondering how I got here. Let's rewind. This was my life. I was a writer, a brilliant novelist in waiting. But waiting turned into months, then years. My brain was a desert, total creative shutdown. My publisher was furious, and my wonderful girlfriend Lindy broke up with me. She called me a man with potential who does nothing. Ouch. But fair. I had a massive book advance and hadn't written a single word. My apartment was a disaster, and I was just another anonymous loser in New York City. Then I ran into a ghost from my past. Vernon Gant, my ex-wife's brother. He looked too good, too confident. He told me he was part of a new kind of pharmaceutical circle and pulled out a small clear pill he called NZT 48. He claimed it was revolutionary, like flipping a switch in your brain, accessing everything. Every book you've ever read, every memory, every detail, all of it instantly available. Vernon reminded me I was failing, and in a moment of utter despair, I took it, just to shut him up. Nothing happened for about 10 minutes. I was walking home, feeling worse than ever. Then, bam, it hit me. It wasn't a rush, it was pure clarity. Suddenly, the chaos of my apartment was organized. My brain processed every little piece of information perfectly. I went from a dull, foggy mind to total 100% focus. I didn't write my book, I transcribed it. The words were already there, perfectly structured in my head. I wrote 80 pages in 8 hours. It was effortless. I was a genius. The next day, I woke up and the effect was gone. My brain went back to being lazy, foggy Eddie. I was desperate. I needed more. I found Vernon, who gave me a few more pills and a strict warning. Don't talk about the drug. Ever. Over the next week, the difference was unbelievable. I finished the book in 4 days. I learned Italian in 3 days. I looked better, I sounded better, I was better. With my new intelligence, I realized being a famous writer wasn't enough. The slow burn rewards of literary fame were an insult to the lightning speed of my new brain. I needed cash, and the quickest way to turn intelligence into money? The stock market. I started small, but with my NZT brain, I saw patterns where others saw randomness. I learned the whole system in a few hours. I made thousands, then tens of thousands in a single day. Everything was perfect. I was on top of the world. But power like this always comes with a price, and my time was running out. Within a few weeks, my life wasn't just better, it was unrecognizable. NZT 48 was the key to everything. That pill didn't just enhance me, it made me a better version of every version of myself. I realized my true potential wasn't as a novelist, it was as a master manipulator of the world's finances. I didn't need a brokerage firm. I just needed a computer and my enhanced mind. I started identifying small, failing companies, figuring out the one tiny detail everyone else missed. A patent, a piece of property, a hidden asset, and I leveraged it. I learned from every mistake I had ever made in life, instantly converting past failures into present profit. Within a month, my small starter capital had ballooned into 6 figures, and I was just getting warmed up. I bought expensive suits, started training in martial arts, and even used my hyper-focused charisma to charm Lindy back into my life. She didn't know why I was different, only that I was. I was irresistible. But this incredible power came with a supply problem. My relentless pursuit of knowledge and profit required constant dosing, and my initial handful of pills had been consumed in a frenzy of productivity. My little stash of NZT 48 was running dangerously low. I called Vernon, but he was dodging my calls. I found Vernon alive, acting normal though a little stressed. We talked about NZT, about how powerful it was. He didn't look well, so I stepped out to grab him some food and clothes. I was gone only 20 minutes. When I came back, the apartment felt wrong the moment I opened the door. Vernon was on the floor, dead. Someone had killed him. NZT kicked in. If Vernon was dealing this stuff, then the killers were looking for the same thing I needed to survive. I started scanning the apartment, the oven, the drawers, the vents, and then I found it. Inside the oven, hidden in plain sight, was a large bag, Vernon's entire stash, hundreds of NZT 48 pills. I grabbed the bag and walked out before anyone could return. Behind me was Vernon's body. Ahead of me was a life powered by NZT. Now, I was a wealthy man and a potential murder suspect running on borrowed brain power. This massive new supply meant I could go all in. I started trading with millions. The clarity afforded by the NZT allowed me to instantaneously neutralize the trauma of Vernon's death and focus solely on leveraging my new status and capital. My next goal was legendary financier Carl Van Loon. I got a meeting with him, a man who ran the world. Using the perfect synthesized pitch I crafted in seconds, I was instantly impressive, seeing a relentless, intuitive brilliance in me. He offered me a job, a massive stake in a huge corporate merger. I was no longer just a genius, I was a major player. But then, the dark side hit. The NZT had a withdrawal. The moment the drug started to fade, I was gripped by extreme nausea, debilitating headaches, and crippling memory loss. I blacked out for hours, waking up with no memory of what I had done. I realized I was not using the pill anymore. I was completely dependent on it. This incredible drug, which gave me everything, was also trapping me. And somewhere out there, the man with the scar and Vernon's other dangerous associates were waiting for me. They knew I had the pills, and they were coming. With my massive secret supply of NZT-48, I was unstoppable. I wasn't just working, I was optimizing every single moment. I started building a financial empire almost overnight. My relationship with Carl Van Loon became key. I wasn't just his employee, I was his secret weapon. Van Loon was planning the biggest corporate merger in history, a billion-dollar deal that would reshape entire industries. My job, powered by the pill, was to analyze decades of complex financial data and predict the outcomes of every single maneuver. And I nailed it. Van Loon was ecstatic. The world was my sandbox. I felt immortal. But immortality is expensive. The withdrawal symptoms were getting worse. The moment the NZT faded, I would lose time. Hours of my life would vanish. I'd wake up somewhere unfamiliar, with strange injuries and no memory of how I got there. This wasn't just a physical sickness, it was a terrifying loss of control. I realized I had to start rationing, but the need for the clarity of the pill was overwhelming. My past caught up to me violently. I had forgotten about the man with the scar, the attacker I had left wounded. He was part of a powerful network, and they had found me. They were using my dependency on the drug against me, hoping to steal the remaining NZT. I started receiving threats and realized I was being followed everywhere. My life had turned into a high-speed game of strategy and survival. The threats escalated from shadowing to outright attacks. One night, I was confronted in the subway by several men. Under the influence of NZT, my brain turned the environment into a geometric equation. I didn't fight them in a normal way. I used every detail, the angles of the walls, the speed of the train, the weight of my briefcase, to calculate the perfect, most efficient moves. I fought like a precision machine, but I knew I couldn't keep this up. I finally confessed some of the truth to Lindy, though I only mentioned the fear, not the pill itself. She saw the madness in my eyes and knew I was in deep trouble. She was scared, but reluctantly agreed to help me. I had to protect my NZT supply at all costs. I hired security, but that wasn't enough. I decided to make my apartment a fortress. The crucial merger with Van Loon was days away, and I was running on the razor's edge of a full blackout. The world saw a brilliant, confident financial prodigy. I saw a man who was fighting assassins in the subway while trying to save a billion-dollar deal. I was trapped between my ambition and my addiction, and the clock was ticking down to a catastrophic end. The time for playing games was over. I had built my fortress. My apartment was wired with security cameras and a hidden vault for the NZT. The big corporate merger with Van Loon was happening, and the man who wanted my pills, the Russian gangster Gennady, was closing in. He didn't just want the drugs for himself. He understood their value and wanted to control the supply. Gennady knew I was vulnerable when the pill wore off. He cornered me during one of my debilitating withdrawal periods. I was a mess, sick, disoriented, and weak. This time, I couldn't outsmart him. I could barely think. Gennady brutally tortured me, demanding the location of the NZT stash. I couldn't give him what he wanted, not because I was strong, but because the drug fog had caused me to install a biosecure lock on my vault, meaning only my enhanced mind could remember the complex code. He wasn't alone. He brought 2 of his men, all of them high on NZT, but not the clean version. They had taken the drug the wrong way, recklessly, and it turned them into violent predators. I was helpless. My mind was slow, foggy, useless. They cornered me in my own apartment. Gennady wanted my supply. He wanted to control me. And worst of all, He wanted the formula for NZT. In the chaos, I grabbed a knife and managed to stab Gennady. He collapsed, bleeding, but I had no pills left. I needed NZT to survive the rest of his men. And then I realized something horrific. Gennady had NZT in his bloodstream. In the most desperate moment of my life, I did the unthinkable. I bent down and drank the NZT-infused blood from Gennady's wound. Instant clarity, instant power. The world snapped back into high definition. With my brain firing at full capacity, I analyzed every inch of the room, angles, objects, timing, and used it all to eliminate the remaining attackers with brutal, efficient precision. When it was over, the apartment was a war zone. 5 years later, I'm not just a player. I'm the game. I cut ties with Van Loon, not because he failed, but because he became a limitation. My financial empire was merely the launchpad. My ultimate goal, which my NZT brain mapped out years ago, was power on a national scale. I learned how to stabilize the NZT, synthesizing it so effectively that I no longer needed the original supplier. The side effects? Gone. The withdrawals? Eliminated. I was now permanently functioning at 100% of my mental capacity. I am running for the US Senate. The people who were once my enemy, like Van Loon, now have to deal with me as an equal, or worse, a superior. In the end, everyone has a secret, but my secret is that I have none. I see everything. I know everything. The question isn't whether I'm still on the pill, it's whether the pill is still on me. The difference is, now I'm in control, and the world is about to find out just how limitless I can be.